Live from a studio apartment, this is Misinformation. Well, welcome in. We're on the rare TikTok tonight before they boot me off. Starting to do some morning shows too. So if you're an early bird person, I do them. I've started doing them at work, so it's a little dicey. Like I had to bounce at the end today because somebody was knocking on the door. But they're kind of fun. It's my little ghetto morning stream. So if you're up early, when would I probably do them? Like 8 a.m. Pacific time. I'll see if I can do them, how it goes. Anyways, we're going to do some jokes. And then I'm probably going to go to bed. It's a little late here on the West Coast. I got to get up for my work morning show tomorrow morning. All right, here we go. I think that's good. Well, Gavin Newsom told black people he's one of them because he has low IQ. Yeah. And if that wasn't enough to win them over, he also mentioned he steals unemployment. Yeah. He's just trying to throw out common denominators, I guess. I don't know. I don't think they took it well. Well, there was a group of dancers, conservative dancers, in a good shooting where a lesbian woman was shot by ice agents. The hardest part of an accurate reenactment, toning it down to be a little less gay. Difficult. They actually had to gay it down to lesbian level. That's how gay it was. I'm gonna get banned so fast on this damn thing. Hold on, my teleprompter's going crazy. Okay, you ready for this banger of a joke? Trump has called for the Department of War to declassify all info on aliens. Yeah. He later withdrew the promise when it was discovered that several prominent aliens had visited Epstein's island. Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't release those files. He wants to be a little more cautious with those ones, so. Alien files are fine, just as long as they're not involved with that. Anyways, that's the jokes. Them's is the jokes tonight. So we're going to get into some news. What we got going on? We got, I have my TV, by the way. I got a new TV. Check out this bad boy. This is a little look inside the studio here. Look, that's me on the TV looking at myself in infinity. I'm gonna break this. It's basically, I don't know, the way the streaming software works, it doesn't like show comments from TikTok, so I have to open TikTok and look at it on a different screen. But anyways, what we got going on in the news? The State of the Union, that was like the big thing. Still everybody's talking about it. We'll go over a couple things with that here. Hold up. Let's get the twits, the Twitter. This was Gavin Newsom's strike team in California coming for the unemployment fraud. There was a first up, these were some comments from today about the State of the Union. Jack Posobiec tweeted that he thought it would have been funny had Trump presented ex-President Maduro in chains. How funny would it be if Trump rolled out Maduro in chains? And look who's here with us. That would have been funny. Just thought that was fun. Trump tweeted about he was jawing back and forth with, I think her name's Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar were both there. And they were like kind of going crazy a little bit. They were yelling a lot, at Trump basically. And so he had one of his classic truths today. You guys see that? He says, when you watch low IQ Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, as they screamed uncontrollably last night at the very elegant State of the Union, such an important and beautiful event, they had the bulging, bloodshot eyes of crazy people, lunatics, mentally deranged and sick, who, frankly, look like they should be institutionalized. It's just great. Classic Trump right there. When people can behave like that and knowing that they are crooked and corrupt politicians, so bad for our country, we should send them back to where I came from. That first line, though, is really the money maker from the tweet. I thought that was funny. Really good reactions to it. I loved the speech, by the way. What'd you guys think? It was, first of all, it was like the longest State of the Union in history. Apparently, it was a great one. It was really good. It was super positive. I'm actually like, sometimes I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm a Trump supporter, so I don't have to like hate on every time he's just super positive and being like America's cheerleader. Because if you like him and you like America, it's really cool to see. You're like, oh wow, he's like the ending of the speech, which I'll play in a little bit. I have it here somewhere. It's like the most uplifting 2 minutes you'll ever hear about America and America's future, right? But even CBS, they did a poll today, and this is a CBS News poll. So usually these are fake polls, right, that they release, where they just try and make Trump look shitty somehow. But even they had to acknowledge that there was 75% of respondents approved of the speech. So, and if I had to guess why, I think a lot of that positivity just gets through to people. And it was funny, which I'll play some clips in a second. What was the other CBS? Oh, CBS also fact checked this speech last night. Again, CBS. And they said they were fact checking Trump's claim that the murder, you were in the ICU. I hope you're okay. It's not good. Fake poll unless it agrees with you, that fits. I think they're pretty obviously fake polls from the last couple of years, mostly from the Democrats, but I think that's mostly because they owned most of the mainstream media outlets. So I'm sure the Republicans could do it as well. I mean, anybody could fake a poll. It's just meant to bolster credibility, You have those sort of fake, it sounds like it's coming from a position of authority, but it's not. Anyways, Trump was making the claim that there was the murder rate was the lowest it's been, he might have said in recorded history, but it was the lowest number in 125 years. So CBS comes in to fact check the claim and finds out that it's true, that the murder rate is the largest decline on record in 125 years. Which is like, again, to me, that's just huge for CBS to admit to, because they're usually the ones who try to sort of falsely fact check everything that he says, and they do later on in the article. They do fact check. You can always tell they're fudging the fact check when rather than putting false, they just put misleading. Trump claims more time, blah, blah, blah. They sort of like, they use misleading to be like, well, he's kind of right, but I don't think it's really fully true. But in any case, with the murder rate, they mentioned here, they noted that the reasons for last year's decline are not clear, but researchers say possible influences include changes in criminal justice policies and programs, shifts in the use of technology, and broader social, economic, and cultural trends. What do you guys think it could have been? What are we thinking? A lot of people, I mean, I'm being a bit facetious. A lot of people are saying on the right that it's the border being closed. I'm sure that factored into it, but I don't know that's... If I had to guess, let me put it this way, I wouldn't say that 100% or near that of the crime in our country or the murders was coming from illegal immigrants, although there's some number that we don't know what it is, right? But to me, it's just, when you have a president like Trump who comes in, especially after the very soft on crime, almost encouraging of crime, Democrats were in power for 4 years, all of a sudden you have Trump come in. It's kind of the same effect he had on the border, right? Before he even did anything with the border in terms of shutting it down, changing actual immigration policies, he just said, this is going to stop and everyone's going back. And when he said it, people knew he meant it, and they just stopped coming in. Like, immigration stopped before the policies came in, before he even came into office, because people were like, I ain't messing with Trump in there, right? And I think there's a similar kind of an effect on some of the murder rates and some of the crime rates. You just have this guy in charge now who's very vocal about he's going to crack down on this stuff. So I think in pace with the decreases in shoplifting that you saw, you also saw a decrease in the murder rates. That'd be my guess. But other things too, I'm sure. Usually CBS only polls Democrats. Yeah, the companies do weird things to kind of fake the polls from time to time. They could like sample Democrats largely, but they could also word the questions in a very specific way to get the sort of response that they want, or they can just fudge the numbers. You know, it's not that difficult to fake the poll. More support for law enforcement, I do agree with. Yeah. I mean, it's just the whole vibe, really. But closing the border, I'm sure, did help. I just don't know that that's the majority of the reason. So we got that. This was kind of one thing I wanted to point out about the State of the Union address, and it's a theme we'll return to in a little bit. I'll kind of link it to something else. But so this was on Monday. A reporter did some interviews with some college students to get their reaction to Trump's State of the Union address. The only problem is it was Monday, and the address happened on Tuesday night, so it hadn't happened yet. And their reactions are about what you would expect from a liberal college.
Rate Trump's State of the Union speech 1 out of 10. 1's the worst, 10's the best.
Negatives.
And why?
I think we all know a lot of reasons.
Yeah. What about the State of the Union last night? 1 to 10.
It was like a 1 or 2. I mean, it was all over the place.
It's terrible, bro.
I'm gonna give it a 1.
And why do you say 1?
I don't think he's very articulate.
How did Trump do at the State of the Union?
0.
0 hasn't happened yet.
I'll be real, I didn't watch it.
Like, yeah, I didn't really watch it much. I watched it for a little bit, but
The State of the Union last night. How?
But this is like generally the point I wanted to raise is this isn't just college kids. This is kind of everyone. Like if you already hate Trump, it doesn't matter what he was going to say or how positive he was during the State of the Union. Whether you saw it or you didn't, you were just going to lie and say you hated it. Or you'd see it and believe you hated it, right? Like people very much have their minds made up about this. We're very divided right now. And Trump, you know, love him or hate him, he is a very divisive figure. In my opinion, because he's so beloved. That's kind of why he's also so hated, right? It sucks when you're on the opposing team and you got one of the goats up there, right? So people aren't really going to change their minds on this, you know? There was here's what we'll just skip and link to it right now. This was Stephen A. Smith. He's had some good content today. Excuse me. He was discussing how, you know, Democrats, they hate ICE, right? They hate deportations. They hate Trump for being a Nazi who's rounding up all of these brown people and putting them in cages, right? And it's been widely reported that, like, under Obama, for instance, when he was doing ICE deportations, I don't know if it was CBS, it was one of the major media outlets, news outlets, was covering it like it was a really great thing and he was doing a great job. So Stephen A. Smith kind of digs into this. He's been getting into politics a little bit more recently. You can take a listen.
Yeah, you're talking about the border. Yeah, the border needed to be closed, but that was because Biden opened it. If Biden had it opened and followed Obama, who deported more people than Trump did, in Obama's term in office, over 3.1 million people were deported. How come you didn't follow that, Joe Biden? How come you didn't follow that, Democrats? How come it was okay to celebrate ICE at that particular time when when Obama was in office, and you had networks literally traveling with ICE to show you the marvelous work that they were doing, but suddenly Trump is doing it, and now it's a pariah, and ICE needs to go, and it needs to be completely banned. Why are sanctuary cities existing? Why is that? Why do you get to, implement laws that could get you to ignore federal laws? How is that? How does that benefit our country? I'm saying to ask ourselves these questions. Yeah.
He's, first of all, 100% right. But he brings up an interesting point, which again, I'm linking back to the college survey thing, right? Because as a Democrat, you must be aware of that, right? Like that the ICE deportations were going on under Obama. But they almost, to me, like I've never seen them really respond to that question. I've never seen them acknowledge it, right? Because to acknowledge it would be to acknowledge that all of your hatred for Trump really isn't real. And that when you get right down to it, all this vitriol in politics isn't really real. It's a show. And it's tribal. So, like, I have this theory: people don't pick the political parties that they agree with, right? It's just a weird random side note, but they pick their tribe. Okay, they pick the political party that they believe is going to give them the best chance of survival and leading a good life, right? And the ideas are derived from there. To me, it's no surprise that political parties there's always two sides, and they're always diametrically opposed on all issues, right? But anyways, to circle back to this, if you were to acknowledge as a Democrat that Obama was doing the same thing with ICE, you would see that everything that you're saying about ICE currently is just an act, is just a veil essentially, and it sort of strips it away, right? So I think the other problem currently with all the vitriol in the country, just to be honest, is I think when you have a society that doesn't have a common enemy, you know, like we had World War I, World War II, wasn't much Civil War talk going on during that time, right? We were generally getting along when we weren't beating the crap out of Germans, right? Or really fearing for our lives and fighting for our existence. But I think when you go through long periods where you don't have a common enemy, the public can kind of turn amongst itself on issues. So I think that's unfortunately the place we're in right now, and that's why it feels a little bit different than maybe it's felt in the past. You know, in America, there is a heightened level of animosity towards these different tribes or political parties. And again, very little of it's actually of substance. A lot of it's just essentially hatred, kind of covered up with some form of logic. Let's check the comments. It's rare that I have an audience, actually, because I'm usually on YouTube and they don't really like advertise it. And TikTok, I can only get in like once a week and then I get kicked off. You're supposed to be gaming on here. And they get mad that I'm not gaming. Press doesn't run in the country. The press kind of does. Oh, I thought you were saying the press doesn't. I was going to say the press kind of does run the country. You know, the main verbal propaganda wing sort of does run the thinking of the country, or they did at least. Hid dozens of files. Nah. The news stories are just making it about missing files with the Epstein thing because there's not actually anything that they have against Trump. So instead of making the story anything of substance, they're like, oh, well, some of the files were missing. That's odd. And actually, when you dig into that story, you find out the FBI is like, yeah, we took some down to redact other names. Then we'll put them back up in like a week. And like the witness that they're talking about against Trump was already like dismissed her own case and wouldn't press charges. And you're like, okay, this is actually old news. You're just talking about the files are missing. Like it's confirmation bias. The primary difference might have been the shooting of U.S. citizens and everything surrounding that. I don't know what that's referring to. Yeah, the sleeper cells here are okay too. I don't like the sleeper cell idea. That's actually like my biggest concern. I tried to explain this to my sister when she was freaking out on me at one point because I was like talking about I wanted closed borders, I didn't want illegal immigration, and she was like trying to call it kind of racist. And I was like, it's not a racist thing. It's a safety thing, primarily for me. I mean, we live in a world with a lot of terrorism and a lot of people who wish death to America. If you can just come in through the border with an app and check in wherever and get free food and stuff, why wouldn't you funnel in a bunch of terrorists and just have sleeper cells? So I hope that hasn't happened, but that was always one of my big fears with the border. Here's blah, blah, blah. President Obama. We all are one. I hope we get back to that point, actually. The last time I remember the country being like really united was genuinely was the day after 9/11. September 12th. There was one day in the country that I remember when everyone was flying an American flag. Probably because we had a common enemy for a sec. And then like September 13th, it just went back to horrible. Just got bad again. But for that one day, everyone was patriotic. Done the tribalism is you think Trump did much to try Trump? I mean, to be fair, with the tribalism, he sort of plays into it sometimes for sure. And he is the greatest troll. In addition to being America's biggest cheerleader, he's the biggest troll too of his enemies. It's really funny, but yeah, he's not the best at diffusing the animosity towards him specifically. Kind of because he's so good. Where's his, these are some Trump stand-up comedy bits from the State of the Union, by the way. This is a good little chain here.
$1 to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. $40 million.
That's undeniably funny. Somebody says, oh, Alex in America, it's not funny. It's dividing the country in exactly the way you're saying you want to stop. I did not say I wanted to stop it. Actually. To some degree, I feel like it's a natural sort of cycle. So I don't know that there's a way to stop it, to be honest. Except for getting a common enemy. If we had a big-ass war, but that would also suck. So there's no great solutions to me. All right, we went through the college kids. What else we got? This was kind of a crazy story from today, actually. So apparently Cubans shot a boat with potentially U.S. citizens on it. Maybe, we're not sure yet. But this comes when there's rising tension with Cuba. You know, we obviously just went into Venezuela and snatched their president, right, and brought him back here. And then Trump was directly threatening Cuba afterwards because I guess they're somehow involved with the whole oil fiasco with Venezuela and the drug thing. So my last time I heard about Cuba, I thought he was working something out with the president there. Now today we heard 4 armed speedboat passengers killed by Cuban border guards lived in the U.S., officials say. The weird thing about this story, to hear it from the Cubans, basically there was a speedboat approaching their waters. They sent their version of the Coast Guard out to intercept it, and supposedly the speedboat opened fire on them first. They returned fire, killing, I think, 4 people, and maybe they rescued 6 survivors. And there's one guy that they're saying already confessed to essentially trying to smuggle these people into the country. They were armed, they're saying. They had Molotov cocktails. And the Cubans are calling them terrorists, basically. They're saying that they were trying to infiltrate the country to conduct terrorist activities. Here's a little bit. I don't know if we'll pull up the video here. It might be on like an ad or something like that. But Marco Rubio was talking about it. Let's see if I can load it again. He's not happy in any case that it's... I mean, there's a couple different... So Marco Rubio is like not happy that it might be American citizens or just people that live in the U.S. He says we're going to investigate, figure out what happened, and take any necessary actions from there. To me, there's a couple different options of what's going on. First of all, there's the possibility it was like drug runners, right? That's potentially they were just straight up drug dealers, criminals trying to get into Cuba somehow. The Cuban guards approached them and they were just like trying to shoot them and got killed, right? Is there a possibility you think this could actually be... Let's play Rubio real quick while he's up.
Immediately began to look into it. As it stands now, the Department of Homeland Security, the Coast Guard, others are involved. The majority of the information we still possess is what Cuban authorities are providing both the public and the U.S. government. We have our embassy on the ground in Havana working this as we speak, asking for access to the people that were on those vessels, if they were American citizens or permanent residents. According to the Cuban regime, that the boat was registered in Florida. We're tracking that down. We will know shortly, and we will know quickly, many more facts about this incident than we know right now. The majority of the facts being publicly reported are those by the information provided by the Cubans.
So, again, one possibility to me may be drug dealers, right? Another possibility may be just like unassociated with the U.S., some type of terrorist coming into Cuba. Third possibility is that they were sent by us into Cuba to somehow destabilize Cuba as maybe part of a larger thing. Now, I don't have any, this is just conjecture, so I'm just spitballing here. But it is odd that there's like, you know, they're saying that they were armed. The Cubans are calling them terrorists. They're saying they were trying to infiltrate the country. Why? You know, it's one of those stories. It's kind of, it seems to be lacking a lot of context that we just don't know about. Like the Cubans are kind of ambiguous with infiltration and armed. The U.S. isn't exactly coming out and saying one thing or another. It would seem weird to me that we would send like 10 Cuban-American dudes in there to like cause chaos, but we've done crazier stuff before, right? To destabilize nations. So we're already applying lots of pressure to Cuba. It's possible that we were involved somehow in like some type of a campaign to get them weapons or something like that. But again, there's like very little information right now. So just pointing it out, it was like online at 5 p.m. today. This story pops up. Kind of crazy. Pretty smart spitballing. It's all right for spitballing. I asked Grok about my theory. It was like, I don't know. So we'll see. Grok doesn't know, though. It's not real. I feel like AI... Do you guys think AI is really smart, or do you think it's going to be stupid? I feel like one of my predictions for AI is that we might end up just like investing billions and trillions of dollars to build this godlike AI, and then it just turns out it's really dumb. Because I feel like, well, you had this, there was this clip earlier today of, oh, I don't even have the clip. It was Peter Thiel talking about AI, and he was saying he thought it was actually going to be worse over the long run for math people than for like word people, writers and stuff like that, because AI is projected to be able to solve like even the most complex math problems in just a couple of years. Whereas the verbals, I think, are a little bit harder for it. To me, it reminds me a lot of that. There's like an old analogy about if you put enough monkeys in a room together, give them enough time in front of a typewriter, they'll write Hamlet, right? Like they'll write a Shakespeare play. Because with just enough time, which could be infinite, right, and random probability, they'll mash the words together in just the correct order of Hamlet. And that's what I think of when I read AI writing. I'm like, yeah, it has infinite time. That time is just compressed into like milliseconds because it's so fast. But it is just like a bunch of monkeys in a room just averaging everything together until they hit Hamlet, right? Now, those monkeys could write a Shakespeare play through chance, through random chance. Does it mean the monkeys are smart? No. They're still just a room full of monkeys. And with more time, they're just trying to scrape together stuff. They don't understand anything, right? But just with enough random chance, they kind of get the average. So that is one possibility with AI. I don't know that that's going to happen. We could be dealing with the AI god on Earth in like a year and a half for all I know. I don't know. But when I read some of its writing, it does give me a little bit of hope because it does really stink. It's kind of awful. If you're a writer, you're like, oh, this is terrible. Yeah, AI is not good for critical thinking skills. I can't think of any examples now, but like anytime I really try to use it for anything other than like the most basic like Instagram descriptions maybe, or like general little marketing things, it really fails. Especially I do stand-up comedy. It is so bad at writing. Every stand-up comic has always tried to get AI to write a joke for them. Everyone has, right? It cannot write jokes worth crap. It's always the goofiest, like wordplay, even worse than my jokes. All right? But it throws together the dumbest stuff ever. It's unreadable, unusable completely. Good as like a research tool though, I think. You guys want to hear jokes? Were you here for the jokes earlier? Lousy at taglines too. Yeah. I'll do like a couple jokes real quick. Get rid of that. Oh, did I get rid of my... Oh, it's still here. Well, Gavin Newsom told black people he's one of them because he has low IQ. Yeah. And if that wasn't enough to win them over, he also mentioned he steals unemployment. He's just trying to relate with that jive, you know? I don't think they took it well. He did steal a lot of unemployment, though, apparently. Well, a group of dancers did an interpretive dance for the shooting where a lesbian woman was shot by ICE agents. And that was part of an accurate reenactment, toning it down to be a little less gay. Yeah. It was really gay. They had to tone it down to lesbian level. That's how gay it was. Well, Trump has called for the Department of War to declassify all info on aliens. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. He later withdrew the promise when it was discovered that several prominent aliens had visited Epstein's Island. Missed the button. Had visited Epstein's Island. Yeah. Can't release those files. Those are too top. You don't want that getting out there. Wouldn't want that. I'm not gonna lie, that does look like kind of fun. Those aliens are having a good time. Yeah, I'm like on the little laptop trying to click these tiny little buttons to get these pictures to show up. It's so dumb. Okay, what else we got? Let's see if we got anything else tonight. We did the AI. Zohran Mamdani is pissing me off. A lot of stuff's pissing me off tonight. I gotta tell you, I was giving the guy a chance too. Like, he was kind of funny with, he had this video where he couldn't lift the 135 pounds. I'll try to find the video. He has a really funny video where he's explaining it, and he's like, bro, did you think I thought I was gonna be able to lift that? He's like, I knew I was screwed when I saw that. And it's sort of funny, and I was like, I'll give him a shot. But then with the snowball stuff, have you guys seen this? So apparently there was like cops in New York City who were getting pelted by snowballs. I don't know the context of like how this started, but apparently people are just throwing snowballs at these cops, and they're like really packed. And you can see towards the end of the video, this one cop right here gets hit in the face. He's bleeding. Well, I hope it plays. Let's see. Oh, let's go here. Doesn't look very fun, by the way. This doesn't look like a typical schoolyard snowball fight. I think I saw some cops shoving people right there. They're getting pelted in the face and the back of the head with snowballs.
You okay?
How you accomplish mission?
So you can see his eye when he gets his face cut off, right? And Zohran Mamdani was asked about this repeatedly, and he comes out and says to him, I'll just play it.
That I've seen, it looks like a snowball fight. I think that there were two officers who were facing lacerations on their face.
Call for prosecution of those who pelted them?
Look, I've seen the videos of this snowball fight. I think that it was a snowball fight.
What a punk, dude. This pisses me off so much. I mean, I don't even know why you would do this trash. Except that the Democrats just, especially in New York, have this thing where they have to, like, denigrate the police and act like they're not needed and like they overreact all the time. It's just BS, man. How could you treat your own police officers that way? I mean, obviously the guy got hurt. That didn't look like a great situation. There's no reason to downplay it like that. And plus, this fool couldn't even bench 135. That's bare minimum for a grown adult male. He would get folded by a snowball. Are you kidding me? And he's trying to act like, oh, it's a little snowball fight. He called them kids at one point. There were no kids in that video. These were grown guys. And it's not, I mean, I get it's snow, right? It's ice and hitting people. Sure, it's not like murder, right? I get that. But there's no need to downplay it. You could easily get up there and say, hey, you know, I'm glad it wasn't something more serious, but it's totally inappropriate. You shouldn't be hitting officers with anything. Instead, you're saying the message, oh, no big deal. We're just going to downplay all this stuff. So that's just infuriating, frankly. Now I'm totally against him. Piece of trash. Someone else pissing me off tonight. Eileen Gu. You guys heard of the Gu lady? This was, she's the Olympian who, I'd never even heard of her during the last Olympics. She's actually really pretty, super beautiful. But I guess she's half Chinese, half American. Maybe 22. She's pretty young. And I think she was in the 2022 Winter Olympics. And around that time, she did it again this season. She basically decided, even though she lives in the U.S., was born in the U.S., that's why she has citizenship here, because her mother came from China and gave birth to her, I think, in San Francisco. Lived here her whole life, trained here her whole life, and she decides she's going to represent China in the Olympics. There's another clip of here. Clip of her here. People are freaking out about her. They're saying she bragged about the medals.
Do you see these as
just so you can kind of hear her talk and stuff?
2 silvers gained or 2 golds lost?
I'm the most decorated female free skier in history. I think that's an answer in and of itself.
Most decorated traitor in history.
How do I say this? Winning a medal at the Olympics is a life-changing experience for every athlete. Doing it 5 times is exponentially harder because every medal is equally hard for me, but everybody else's expectations rise, right? And so the 2 medals lost situation, to be quite frank with you, I think is kind of a ridiculous perspective to take. I'm showcasing my best skiing. I'm doing things that quite literally have never been done before, and so I think that is more than good enough. But thank you.
And the reason that you're doing things that have never been done before is because you were trained in the United States. Okay? You came to the U.S. She probably had a ton of endorsements, right? She had opportunities for education. She had opportunities for training. I'm pretty sure that the snow skiing training in the U.S. is going to be better through adolescence than in China. Maybe not, but I would assume so, right? So you've had all of these opportunities, right, that this country has given you. And this is what pisses me off, is when people treat the U.S. like it's a job. And they're just, you know, they're actually from another country. She's not even from another country. She just has dual citizenship, right? So, but they treat it like they're just going to extract as much resources and benefits and wealth as they can from it. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, you see where their true allegiances lie, right? She aligns more with China, right? Apparently, she would represent them in the Olympic Games. And the Olympic Games, and any sports, any international sports, it's really meant to be like a mock war. Not literally, but that's why we have sports, I think. It's like it's a competition, right? Between your bitter rivals. And she's chosen to represent a different country than the one that she benefited from, that made her entire life. She's actually... Here's a fun fact I learned about her today. Even her sperm is American. Give me a sec. So she doesn't have a tradition. Her mom, I guess, immigrated from China and selected a white American sperm donor. So she doesn't have like just a regular dad. She just has a mom, a single mom, who basically bought a white American guy's sperm. So even her sperm benefited from being in America, and she can't get us a medal? Get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? I mean, she talks about it in interviews. She says she's, the opportunities to inspire young women are better in China, blah, blah, blah. I just think it's all trash. When you're representing your country that you live in, that you identify with, in something as big as the Olympics, you got to stick with your home country. And this should be your home country. If it's not, and she identifies more with China, you can go live there. You can go train there. Go train with them. Go get their endorsements. Forget about the U.S. because you're not really with us. So go over there, and they can have all the medals. That's fine. And you can live in China since you love it so much. I don't see why you wouldn't do that. So she's probably looking for that American sperm, like mother, like daughter. It is kind of a weird story. Anyways, what else we got? Here's related. It's sort of the same kind of deal. There was a Gateway Pundit. This was what made me think of Eileen Gu in the first place. There was the DOJ announced the arrest of a former U.S. military Air Force pilot. I guess he was a trainer for the U.S. He would train F-35 flyers. And he ended up going over to China and training their military pilots. Which, lo and behold, that's illegal, it turns out. Unless you have like a very specific State Department license to do it. You can't be in the U.S. military and then go overseas and train our rivals. Right? Just like you shouldn't be allowed to live in the U.S. and benefit from it and get all your Olympic training here, but then go do all the actual Olympics for China. Shouldn't work that way. But in any case, they arrested this guy, former U.S. Air Force pilot Gerald Eddie Brown. He's 65 years old, Jeffersonville, Indiana. Charged by criminal complaint for providing and conspiring to provide defense services to Chinese military pilots without authorization in violation of the Arms Export Control Act. Fully conspired with foreign nationals and U.S. persons to provide combat aircraft training to pilots in the Chinese Air Force, known as the People's Liberation Army Air Force. This training was a defense service, blah, blah, blah. He didn't have the appropriate license. Upon his arrival in China, it says he sat for 3 hours of questioning about the U.S. Air Force on his first day in the PRC, prepared and presented a brief about himself. So, yeah, this is garbage. This is traitorous. Obviously. We don't want our military members training and learning in the U.S. and then going over and using it to benefit China, right? So, similar thing. Pretty crazy. What else we got here? That might be it for tonight. I'll see if I get anything else from yesterday in the State of the Union to mention. Well, here's my video if you guys haven't seen it. You probably have seen this, but I did a little, Trump set a perfect trap at the State of the Union for Democrats with basically telling them to stand if they supported American citizens first over illegal immigrants. And Democrats couldn't do it. They couldn't stand. So I got this footage actually today of one of the Democrats in Congress debating whether or not to stand. Check it out.
Legal aliens.
Wait, if I stand, it'll make the Mexicans mad, but not all Mexicans. What is the racism quotient? Illegal Mexicans will be happy, but the illegals will be angry. What's Fetterman doing? Is he standing? I can't have a stroke victim standing while I remain seated. Check in. Am I doing the opposite of what Trump let down my imported voters? I didn't stand for the Russian girl that got stabbed in the neck's mom, so I probably should. I'm so sick of the voices in my head.
Hola.
At least they're multicultural. White man bad. I heard you.
I love that I had the cap cut. That was it, though. That was the video. Yeah. Pretty accurate. That's the comment I'm getting a lot of. Did that at work. Good day at work today. You're weak, Cooper. Boom. Blah, blah. Copper boom. No, I'm just kidding. You're probably saying Democrats are weak. Let's see what's going on here. Let's do comments real quick. Then I'll go to bed. Newsom is such a tool. They put rocks in what? Let's catch up a little bit. Good show, gotta go. Have a good night, Terry. Treason. Got you, Copper. I misread it earlier. Thought you was talking shit. A lot of people do. She's really full of her. She is kind of full of herself. She's a little hot though, but I kind of get it if you're an Olympic athlete and you're just like, I mean, she's 22. She's all pumped on it. I kind of get it. But, I mean, I'm only okay with that if you're repping the U.S. I'd be fully okay with the narcissism, just not from repping another country. Who else? I don't know about the clearing the snow thing. I haven't heard that with Mom Donnie. Anyways, I think that's it for tonight. So I'll probably wrap it up. I gotta go to sleep. I might stream tomorrow morning at like 8 a.m. Pacific time. We'll see. I don't know if I'll do it every day, but I'll try to sneak it in at work before people start bothering me. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Later. See you tomorrow. By the way, if you like this show and you want to watch it, it's always up on YouTube. It might not be here on TikTok tomorrow because they usually only let me do it like once a week here with this widescreen format. And then they block me for like a week. So you can always check YouTube and put notifications on because I do have weird times I stream. And it's not always at the same time. So anyways,